Hello and welcome back to the Canary Chat channel. Today is a slightly different video. It's not predictions, it is not a reaction. It is going through controversial Norwich City opinions. So we've put a kind of question up on X and Instagram and along socials around asking people for their most controversial Norwich opinions. We'll go through them, we'll see if I agree or disagree, and we'll take it from there. But if you've got more kind of controversial opinions, leave a comment down below what they are, and I'll leave my opinion in the comments as well. So the first one is that we overrate our players. And now, do I think this is a controversial opinion? I actually don't overly. I think every team overrates their players. I think it's because we see them week in, week out. It's not kind of, we're not being objective to it. It's always us giving our opinion, and because we watch them every week, we think certain players are a lot better than others. So I don't necessarily think it's a controversial opinion. However, I do think it's the correct opinion. I do think we overrate our players. I'm definitely guilty of it, but it is definitely true. I've seen some crazy comments over the years on certain players, and I think from an outsider's in, you'd be really questioning where that comes from. Our second one is Kellen Fisher is average at best. Now, I think this kind of goes hand in hand with the first one. So I do think that he was probably overhyped when he came in. But the matter of the fact is that he's young, he's still learning. And yeah, there's certain parts to his game that do need a bit of kind of polishing up on. There's other parts of the game that I do generally think he is very good at. For reading of the game, obviously, like tackles, passing's decent. However, kind of his output around probably like crossing and bits like that. The issue is him and Stacey are very different to each other. So when you see one play, you miss what the other one brings, and vice versa. So obviously Stacey's final ball maybe isn't the best, but he's very attacking. He'll run past the left back, and he'll carry the ball forward. Whereas Fisher is a bit more methodical in the way he plays, looks to spray the passes rather than go on those kind of weavy runs. So I do think when you see one of them play, you miss the other. So I definitely get where that opinion comes from. I'd say he's slightly better than average, but I wouldn't say he's kind of an absolute worldie, basically. The next one is that science isn't actually that good, which is a very bold thing to say for a player that's got into the player of the season, and that definitely fits into the controversial opinion category. I think he's very much a player on his day, and ever since that kind of purple patch in November dried up and slowed down, I think people maybe have jumped on him quite a lot, to be honest, around his performances. However, I do think there are valid reasons behind that, and he's changed his game as well. So he was quite selfish, I think, at the start of the season, which led to those kind of worldy goals, him outperforming kind of his expected goals because most of them were coming from outside the box, and things such as that. What then seemed to happen was that he actually kind of then seemed to move into being a bit more unselfish, passing more. When we got so used to him kind of shooting from distance. So I think there's probably actually a part to play in that we haven't seen Sainz's truly selfish side for the last few months, which may have seen his performances and his goals drop. I do actually think that if we can get around 15 odd million for him, I think that's a very good deal. I think he's a good championship player, winger. Do I think he takes the step up? That's yet to be seen. I don't know if with the defending being better in the likes of La Liga or in the Premier League, I don't think he's going to be given that time that he's had in the Championship to score those worldies, which then naturally sees his performances drop. So, definitely see that one. And I'll sit on the fence, half and half agree. The next one we have is that Jacob Wright 25-26 will be better than Ollie Skip of Lockdown. So I've got a huge affiliation to Ollie Skip of Lockdown. I think everyone does. He was a very good, unbelievable player for us back then. However, I definitely do agree with this. They are different type of players. Ollie Skip will run around, chase the ball, challenges. Whilst Jacob Wright does have that in his locker, he's also got that passing range as well. And I think he sits back a little bit more and can pull the strings a little bit more than Ollie Skip can. But I absolutely agree with this. I can't believe the price that we got Jacob Wright for. And yeah, it's going to be an unbelievable purchase, in my opinion. But that also links in with the first one of us overrating players, because that's me doing that right now. So definitely can't argue with that first one. Sykes will go abroad and flop, and Sargent will go to Leeds and score 15 or more goals in the Premier League. So we've obviously talked on the Science one. I think he probably goes away, he gets 7 or 8 goals in the season. Sargent, personally, I don't think gets 15 goals, so I would say this is an unpopular or controversial opinion. I think you need that killer instinct in the Premier League. Pookie, for me, is one of the best instinctive finishers we've had, and even he struggled to get those numbers. And when Pookie's struggling with his movement and his finishing ability, I can't see Sarge necessarily getting it. I think Sargent has the athleticism for the Premier League. He's got a good strike on him, but I just think the instinctiveness to score is what you need in the Premier League. You only get maybe 1 or 2 chances in a game, and I think we've seen sometimes with Sarge that he has 4 or 5 before he scores in the Championship. So yes, very good striker. Does he score 15 or more league goals in the Premier League? I don't think so. We then have our fullbacks, whilst great considering we got them from non-league for very little money and not good enough to take us to the next level. So obviously we've spoken a lot on Fisher, but in regards to Mahovo, I think he's a very talented player. I'd argue he's had a bit more of an impact actually than Fisher did when he came in, just purely for his athleticism, can't even say the word, back and forth. And as well as his defending prowess, he's built for the Championship. He is just very good. I think he provides a different angle to Fisher, but both angles are important. However, I do think when we saw him playing left back, it was a really nice, noticeable difference that we saw down that left-hand side. So, yeah, for me, I think they should both only get better. So hopefully this opinion is wrong. But that's the whole point of controversial or unpopular opinions. But I do think, yeah, that those two can step up to the next level, in my opinion. Sargent will stay. Yeah, I can't see it. I personally would say that in regards to Premier League teams, Serie A teams, MLS teams, with his goal scoring this year, he's going to raise kind of alarm bells for other teams to go, actually, we need to get him before another team do, around that 18-20 million pound price mark. In my opinion, MLS, just before the World Cups come in, having a statement American striker there would be really good for him. I know he's not in the squad this kind of Gold Cup, but however, I do think he's got a point to prove, so he'll also probably want to move out of the Championship to get that sorted. And then lastly, we've got Liam Gibbs, who isn't as bad as people say, and when he's playing in his actual position. So obviously Liam Gibbs has played basically all over the pitch for us. So he played striker against Blackburn, I think, under Wagner at one point. I don't necessarily think he still makes our top 4 or so midfielders, even if he does play in midfield. However, he hasn't had that opportunity to have a consistent run of games in midfield as of recent. So there could be some truth in that. However, if we were looking for a kind of destructive central midfielder that's going to be breaking teams down and bits like that, I would probably just go out and buy a new one personally. I'm not sure Liam Gibbs is the right player there. However, he's clearly very talented, because you can't play in those multiple positions if not. But I just think, yeah, maybe it's time to potentially get him a loan so you can get a consistent run of games, and we can look to maybe get the best out of him next year. But leave a comment down below if you disagree with any of my takes on here. Also leave a comment down below as well if you've got any controversial or popular Norwich takes of yourself. We can include them for another video. And yeah, make sure to like and subscribe. We're trying to hit 2,000 subscribers by the start of the season. It's a huge ask, but it's worth a go. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video.